A Kansas City mother charged in the death of her 1-month-old. She said that she mistakenly placed the infant in the oven. Another mother accused of beheading her baby, and she refuses a plea deal. Another mother found guilty of killing her toddler son, burning his body, and burying him in the yard. Another mother decapitated her baby. Another mother drowns all 5 of her children. Hello, I am Karen Elizabeth, Patton Jack's baby girl, and welcome to Karen's Inquisitive Corner. So glad to have you all today. Today, we're going to talk about postpartum depression. Believe it or not, there are some people who feel that postpartum depression is not real. They feel that some of the other mental illnesses aren't real. For example, depression, anxiety, delusions, personality disorder, bipolar, and schizophrenia. And actually, some scientists and doctors actually feel that these are not actually mental illnesses, that they're not illnesses at all. They're just conditions made up that the person does to get away with. They have no illness, no mental issues, no brain disorientation or anything for these particular diseases. Do you think that way too? Let me know. Postpartum depression affects 1 in 8 new mothers. Now, within the first year is usually when the mothers go through postpartum depression. But who knew that it can actually occur 3 years after the baby is born? And it can actually last up to 21 years after birth. I had no idea. Who knew? It's estimated about 75% of women with postpartum depression go untreated. 500 children are killed each year in the United States due to, as we go through this and actually talk about postpartum depression, I know the biggest question you're probably thinking, what is postpartum depression? Well, I'm glad you asked. When women are pregnant, their hormones increase and just go off the roof. They cry, they're emotional, their hormones just go crazy. After they have that baby, their hormones just drop instantly down. And that is one of the reasons, one of the causes that scientists say starts postpartum depression. Now, some of the other things include having a history of depression, stress, anxiety, your environment, your home environment, your work environment, your social environment. But like a lot of illnesses that we've talked about in the corner, they really do not know what causes postpartum depression. So the causes that I just gave you, those are causes that they found in studies, but they cannot say this is actually why a woman goes through postpartum depression. That may explain why some people, some doctors, some scientists actually question if postpartum depression is really an illness, nevertheless, a mental illness. So let's look at some of the signs and symptoms of postpartum depression. Persistent sadness. So these, of course, are going to go hand in hand with some of the signs and symptoms for depression, postpartum depression. You're going to feel sad. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to feel hopeless. You're going to worry just a lot over everything. You're going to have mood swings. You're going to be irritable. You're going to be easily to anger, and you're going to feel detached from your family and your friends. You're not going to want to go to any family reunions or church or any get-togethers, or even have people come over to visit or to see the baby. You're also going to have a difficulty bonding with that baby. You're going to feel really disconnected with that baby and really kind of strange, like, who is this baby? Knowing all the time in your mind that you're not supposed to be feeling that way. So that also adds to the depression and the stress, because you can't love that baby. You're not able to give that baby that motherly love like other mothers can after they have the baby. You're also going to neglect the baby's needs. The baby could cry all day and you just kind of take the crying out of your mind. You keep doing what you're doing. You're not going to cuddle the baby. You're not going to love on the baby. You're not going to rock the baby to sleep. And you actually may not even feed the baby when you're going through postpartum depression. Now, I want you to think, as we go through this topic, the women that I mentioned earlier, and there was a lot more that I could have mentioned, that actually went through the process of killing their children or killing their child, going through postpartum depression. I want you to think about that and think about whose fault is that as we go on and we talk about this a little bit more. The woman also will have thoughts of death, thoughts of suicide, not just for themselves, but for their children also. They're not able to think clearly. They can't think logically. Their mind is just really disoriented. They're not able to, 2 plus 2 does not equal 4 to them. And they just can't seem to put it together and make decisions about what they should do or what they shouldn't do. And one of the biggest things is they have no control over their feelings. They can't change them. Now, a lot of people confuse postpartum depression with baby blues. And they're two separately different things. Now, if you have baby blues, it's usually mild and it's temporary and it only lasts for a few weeks. But you're not neglecting your baby. You're not having thoughts of hurting yourself or hurting your baby. You're not really isolating yourself to the point where you just go into this deep depression. When we talk about postpartum depression, we are talking about a mental illness. We are talking about something very, very severe. And as I said earlier, it can actually last longer than a year. And you can have postpartum depression, as I said earlier, you've had your baby. That is not the case with baby blues. They are two different things. Do not confuse those. Postpartum depression, like I said, can occur after a pregnancy, but usually it occurs within the first few months or within that first year. A lot of people think when women go through postpartum depression, it only happens with that first child. That is not true. That is not true. You can actually go through postpartum depression with any pregnancy. You can have 10 pregnancies and go through postpartum depression on that 10th pregnancy. Unfortunately, Black women are estimated to have more rates of postpartum depression. It's about 80% higher than white women. Now, why do you think that? Let's ponder on that a little bit. In the corner, we've talked about a lot of different illnesses where it seems like the Black culture of women and men will have more severe illnesses than other cultures. Why do you think that? Black people, the Black culture, the Black community is more likely to name the signs and symptoms as postpartum depression and to go get help for that depression. They're more likely to say, oh, that's just the blues. Everybody goes through that after they have their children. You're thinking crazy and so forth. They can't believe in 2025 that our culture still thinks that way. It blows my mind. 80% of Black women are going to have postpartum. Untreated, not doing anything about it, risking killing themselves and their children versus white women. We have got to do something about that. We have got to do something about it today. In the corner, we've talked about it over and over and over again. Call it what it is. The person is depressed. The person is going through something. The person is not who they were prior to having that baby, and get them some help. Because a lot of times when people go through postpartum depression, they're not able to help themselves. So let's go back to the question that I asked you earlier. Whose fault is it? If your husband is sitting there seeing you go through all of these issues and all of this depression and sadness and so forth, which was the case of some of the women that I named earlier, whose fault is it after that woman kills her babies because of postpartum depression? But there is hope for people diagnosed with postpartum depression. As I've shared to you all in the corner, I had postpartum depression with both of my children. I would not have been able to make it if mom didn't actually come in, move in, and help me take care of my kids. Those of you that have experienced postpartum depression, you know that it's real. Those of you that have not experienced it does not mean that it's not real. It does not mean that. But there is hope. Just like for depression, anxiety, bipolar, blood pressure, there is hope. And women can be treated. They can have therapy and, of course, medications, self-care to take care of yourself. When you go through depression, any type of depression, one of the signs is that you don't take care of yourself. You're not eating, you're not bathing, your mental thoughts are negative. You're not taking care of self. And then support groups. We're going to talk more about support groups in the corner and how support groups can actually help you say out loud, bring all those things that you've been feeling, that you've been thinking, that you're scared to say in a group of people that feel the same way, that understand what you're saying. But we're going to talk about that another time in the corner. I don't want you to think that postpartum depression is not something that cannot be treated. It can be treated. And after treatment, or while you're in treatment, that mother can start bonding with that baby. That mother can start feeling more like a mother and being happy and joyous about having that baby. About these women killing their children, cutting their heads off, burning them, putting them in the oven, drowning them, smothering them, strangling them, just all sorts of things that may be absolutely unthinkable for some of you all. And you're probably sitting there thinking right now, Karen, how can people do this? How could anybody in the world hurt the one thing that you love more than life, that you would actually give your life for, your child? So whose fault is it? when a woman goes through postpartum depression and absolutely no one, they don't have a mother to come and help them. The husband just feels like they're acting out and and wondering why you're not taking care of the child like you're supposed to be taking care of the child. The family stereotypes them and says, that's crazy thoughts. You shouldn't be thinking that way. Take care of that baby, or you're just lazy. You don't want to take care of the child. Putting all of these titles on the woman. And in actuality, the woman is going through postpartum depression. Whose fault is it? Is it the woman's fault because she didn't get up and say, hey, I'm going through depression. I need some help. I need for you all to help me. Will somebody please help me? I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to hurt my baby. Will somebody please help me? Is this her fault because she doesn't get up and go to the doctor or go to a psychiatrist and try to get some help? Or is it that so-called friend's fault because instead of helping them, instead of listening to them, instead of noticing the changes in their friend prior to having the baby related to how they feel after they have the baby, and they didn't bring it to their attention? Is it the fault of the family? Is it the fault of the father or the husband? Who's at fault here? Or is everybody at fault here? Because nobody did anything to stop that woman from drowning her 5 children. After she drowned her 5 children, some of you all may remember the case. After she drowned her 5 children, then her husband said, oh yeah, she was feeling this way. Oh yeah, she had these signs and symptoms. Oh yeah, she was acting like this. But I just didn't think anything. I didn't think anything about it. Now your wife is in jail and your babies are gone. Why is it that our culture, people that look like me, do not get help for mental illness? How are we still here in 2025? I do not understand it. But we are. Unfortunately, we are. We're still here. As long as we have babies killing themselves, we're still here. As long as people and families have postpartum and they're not getting any help, we're still here. As long as we're still labeling people, well, she never was right after her husband died. She's depressed. She's depressed. She's upset. As long as we're still hiding family generation secrets under the bed or in the closet and locking them up and not speaking to them at the dinner table, at family reunions, at church, or wherever, we are still going to be here. And we have to stop, you guys. We have to stop. So, what do I know that I know? If we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. Patience is really, really, really hard. And people say when you pray for patience, then you have to have issues that come in your life so you can obtain patience. I'm not a patient person. I'm much more patient now than I was. I have a director personality. So patience is something that I work on. But I've really been able to do better as I have gotten older. Waiting on what God has for you. Waiting on that love to come into your life. And I'm not just talking about love from a woman or love from a man. That too. Talking about also the love of the job, maybe even a job you never thought that you would be doing, and it becomes your passion. That love for yourself that you never realized that you didn't have until something came up in your life and you looked in the mirror and asked yourself, who is this person? I don't like this person. I don't know this person. But sometimes it's not going to come overnight. Sometimes you have to evolve and get that love in your life. Whatever the love may be, get that in your life. And sometimes God takes us through chapters in our life. And while we're in those chapters in our life, we're like, God, really? Come on now. Give me a break. Come on. I just went through this. I just came out of a storm. Now I'm getting ready to go back into a storm. Come on now. But then after you go through all of that and you get to that place where God places that love in your life, a love you never even considered, a love that 10 years ago you never would have even probably thought about. But when he places that in your life, a lot of times we have to let go of who we are. We have to let go of our, stereotypes. We have to let go of what we used to be, or how we used to think, or what we used to want. And we have to be open for what God has for us, because that is when the perfection comes in. That's when everything falls in place. All of those times you question God, all of those times you question yourself, question your ability, question your future, question where you are right now and why. All of that is going to come to pass with patience. So just practice on your patience. Pray for patience. And when you're in a situation, when you're in an issue, when you're in a storm, pray for patience to get past it. Because let me tell you something. This too will pass. You all have an amazing day. Mwah. Karen Elizabeth Patton Jack's baby girl. And this is Karen's Inquisitive Corner. I'll see you next Saturday. Bye-bye.